Hello, in the next few minutes I will describe the cetacean research efforts I perform on my sailing vessel, Kirdon. In today's example, I am documenting dolphins and whales within the Bahamas. My 42-foot sailboat allows me to quietly move through areas as if I am one of them. Indeed, in some cases I have been surrounded by whales investigating myself as I investigate them. An added advantage is that I can sail all day and all night in areas without the need to go home. So animals may be found after sunset and before sunrise in these areas. On calm nights, I can hear them breathing nearby. In the past, I have been sailing around the Bahamas, often with dolphins swimming under the bow. These animals always fascinated me, so eventually I started to document and photograph them. Around 2015, the electronic cameras started getting to a point where I found it possible to easily gather a lot of data. Soon I had too much data to manage using just folders on the computer. So I created a SQL database with a web page interface to manage all the data. This first effort has evolved into the structured research that I perform today, based on my own experiences, directions I choose to go, and methods used by other researchers. Soon after, GoPros allowed me to get underwater videos of these wonderful animals around my vessel. I then added a hydrophone to listen to their sounds and learn a bit more about their behaviors. I now have over 1,100 sightings well documented and over 2,100 cetaceans identified. A typical day would start with leaving the anchorage under sail. Once going, the camera equipment would be organized, having been recharged the night before. In this case, I left Ten Bay in Eleuthera before sunrise, heading south towards the Tarpon Bay area, sipping my coffee while keeping an eye out for bottlenose dolphins. Often, they may show around sunset or be available at first light in the morning. Over the past decade, I have always painted a green dolphin under my bow. I do not claim that the more oft-seen dolphins recognize me each time, but it sure seems like it, as some I know well will swim alongside me when I'm in that area. At least they have not complained. When I'm searching for cetaceans or starting to photograph them, the boat is usually on autopilot as I am sailing solo. This can present some challenges, but since I am going along slowly, it is a minor issue. Using the main staysail eases the effort, as I can change direction anytime without having to touch the sails. The bow offers the best spot to photograph, as it is not blocked by any sailing hardware, and I can see what's going on below the bow. At times, I had no clue that dolphins were in the area until I wandered up to the bow and looked down. Dolphin!
In this example, I'm looking for whales near Sandy Point and the Abacos by climbing up on my ratlins that provide about 20 to 25 foot view above the water that on good days can give me a view of 2 to 3 miles from the boat, providing a wonderful opportunity to spot whales in the area.
At sunrise off Tarpon Bay, I came across a group of bottlenose, sometimes off in the distance, sometimes right under the bow, gliding under the bow wake, only inches from the boat. These photos are later processed to extract identifying shots of the dorsals and bodies where the different shapes, injuries, and markings help track those cetaceans over time.
In the case of dolphins, the dorsal offers a great opportunity with markings on the trailing edge, leading edge, and the apex. In addition, the tail can also be a good identifier, but it usually requires more visibility underwater. In the case of this calf, there were propeller cuts that have healed nicely that will identify it as an adult. This adult has a severe marking aft of the dorsal. When a dolphin is excited, it can get a pink belly. This dolphin with a shark bite, I was able to determine based on a paper that given the bite radius, separation of the teeth, size of the teeth, that it was approximately a 10-foot tiger shark that had bitten it. Dolphins also have several diseases. An example here is where the skin is mottled possibly by a type of disease that I see more often on the Georgia coast. This dolphin, a shark has bitten the entire top of the dorsal. In Eleuthera, there is a ulcerated skin disease going on in about 10% of the population where the skin does not heal over time. This condition has been seen over a 5-year period with certain dolphins. The group behavior is also captured using the GoPro, allowing me to see more of the dolphin with different markings, tails. This gray spinner dolphin was identified in part because of the coloring. These are a group of melon-headed whales showing their group logging behavior, in addition to one of the whales breaching and rolling around friends. Other species like pilot whales and petropical spotted dolphins are also identified by their dorsals and body markings. In the case of sperm whales, it's the tail that's the most interesting part. Each tail can be particular to that sperm whale, though not all of them are distinct. These whales can be located by the sun shining off their blow. In the case of other beaked whales, this male gelvae can be identified by its tusk as opposed to this Blainville male that can be identified by its tusk and different coloring. This female Blainville has a lot of cookie cutter shark bites that help identify it.
I rigged a GoPro with a diving case to a mop handle with a mahogany V-shaped blade above it to place under the bow. 2 lines pull the camera rig into the point of the bow, secured on cleats either side. The blade angle keeps the camera in place using the flow of water over it. This rig allows me to get great footage of the cetaceans in their own environment where I can see and document the entire body of the animal. For example, it's particularly useful in those cases where these bottlenose dolphins are swimming and interacting on the bow. I can only see part of the event above water. Most of the event is below. The GoPro allows me to capture that information, such as shark bite scars, tail ID photos, defecation, which occurs more often than I thought before, calves swimming with their mothers, interactions between species, such as when I saw some rough-toothed dolphins chase off melon-headed whales from my bow so they could swim there. Plus, the video makes great entertainment. In this case, the water environment is a bit murky, but some scars and bottom surfing is visible. In this other example, in Eleuthera, the water is far clearer, so the information I can gather is of far better quality. It also allows one to document the environment in which they live. In this case, the melon-headed whales are logging at the surface in 4,000 feet of water, and I'm able to capture this group behavior in addition to one defecating and another curious whale that drops by to check me out while I'm drifting nearby. These rough-toothed dolphins, where one can see their teeth, many body scars, and skin patterns, plus the calves are always good fun. They do not linger at the surface, so most identifying markings are found underwater. One can see a recent cookie cutter shark bite on this juvenile Atlantic spotted dolphin, along with the pattern of spots for these elder dolphins. Those spots are the usual method for identifying these dolphins, as the dorsals are more rarely distinct. They accumulate spots starting as juveniles, adding to those markings as they grow.
During a sighting, I leave the GoPro running as I cannot control it remotely when it's underwater. Following a sighting, I simply uncleat the rig and pull it back up on deck. I also have a hydrophone on board with a 20-meter cable. This allows me to drop it well below the boat in order to listen to the cetacean activity around the boat, sometimes up to 4 or 5 miles away, such as pilot whales or sperm whales. Though dolphins, I tend to be able to hear maybe 2 or 3 miles away. I also have a audio recorder on board that allows me to record all of the audio activity and save it for analysis later. When looking for sperm whales, it is very useful to use a directional acoustic listener, which is what this foam half dome does. And that allows me to listen in various directions for the strongest signal of a sperm whale or other animals. But in most cases, it is sperm whales I'm looking for. I use several tools for signal analysis, such as Gold Wave software for audio analysis to see the waveform, clicks, whistles, anything that comes along, and to edit the audio files. The frequency analysis is done in 2 parts. A little bit with Gold Wave using these type of controls so I can see where to edit. Also using the software SigView that allows a more detailed analysis in the frequency domain of the audio signals. In this case, some sperm whale clicks are visible. In the second case, I can see dolphin whistles in the range from 4,000 to 18,000 hertz. See, the recording equipment allows me to see up to 96 kilohertz, but dolphin activity is usually below 20 or 25 kilohertz. Some of the whale activity can be higher. So whales and oceanic dolphins can be found in most areas of the Bahamas. For example, off Elbow Key, they feed in the area of the deep canyons and the steep seawalls, all the way down off Tolu Key, down to Hole in the Wall, up to Sandy Point, where I see most of the species that you've seen today. In addition, they can be found off the Berries, down the tongue of the ocean, past Autac, all the way to the bottom. Many of the sightings also happened in Exuma Sound, from the very top near Ship Channel, all the way down past Cat Island to Conception over to Long Island. In Exuma Sound, I've seen the Blainville beaked whales, Cuvier beaked whales, sperm whales, Gervais beaked whales, pilot whales, Atlantic spotted dolphins, pantropic spotted dolphins, and more. Even below Long Island and to the west of Long Island over to the Ragged Keys, pilot whales, Atlantic spotted dolphins, sperm whales, and more can be found. This is a table of about 900 animals that I have identified over the years in the Bahamas. More have been seen, but either could not be identified because they were not distinct enough or conditions did not allow it, like before sunrise, incoming squalls, or distance. Most IDs are from bottlenose from the banks, with the spotted dolphins a close second. With over 400 sightings where 2/3 are bottlenose dolphins and second most are sperm whales. These whales are difficult for me to document as my sailboat is slow and often cannot get close enough to photograph before they dive. Bottlenose and spotted dolphins are easy to identify as they come up to me and swim with me for hours.
At the end of the sighting, I record the information such as position, time, species, quantity, and makeup of the cetaceans, environment, and behaviors witnessed. The photos, video, and audio files are also noted. In the case of whales, the times at the surface, time diving, then resurfacing, and the course they are following are especially noted. When processing that sighting, I enter the data into my database using web interface, linking all the extracted photos, audio files, and edited videos. New cetaceans are entered along with their identifying photos of their fins and bodies, along with notes about calves and juveniles seen with them. Known cetaceans are updated with new markings such as recent shark bites. A mapping feature allows one to view the patterns of sightings for an entire area. In the Bahamas, my data is supplied to the BMMRO, Bahamas Marine Mammal Research Organization, which is the primary Bahamian research effort supplemented by my data along with data from other volunteers.
I often work in coordination with the BMMRO where their boat and mine go off in different directions looking for animals, then calling each other on the VHF when animals are spotted. This way we cover more water and time in our search. For example, in August 2022, I brought them to my area in North Exuma Sound to search for my Gervais whales that I have often seen there. We did succeed in finding about 16 individual whales, which enabled one researcher to recover DNA samples by scooping the seawater as they followed closely behind those whales. In September 2022, we were in their area near Sandy Point searching for Blainville beaked whales, where a different researcher was taking DNA samples by capturing their blows with a square mounted on a long pole. While I was searching, also came across more sperm whales, pantropical spotted dolphins, and dwarf sperm whales. In 2017 and 2018, I assisted the researchers in tracking Blainville beaked whales with radio tags from Woods Hole in both the Autech and Sandy Point areas. Over the years, I've also helped to radio track and document the small population of manatees in the Bahamas.
On the east coast of the U.S., my data is submitted to the OBIS CMAP MABDC bottlenose dolphin database managed by Duke University. That data is shared amongst other researchers providing supplemental data for their studies. I thoroughly enjoy working with these animals, constantly learning new things about each species and their differences in other areas of the Bahamas, and sharing that information with others interested by them. Sometimes it's just fun to watch the spotted dolphins enjoying my bow wake with such gusto. This is no chore, simply my life.